Catch up on previous parts by clicking the playlist, linked in the description. While talking with his colleagues, Say was approached by the Prime Minister. Camille thanked him for his help with speeding up the expedition. He noticed Say was looking much brighter, and he complimented how the outfit suited him. However, Say thought about how he was forced into attending this obnoxious gathering, but he didn't intend to waste his time. Before he could ask Camille what was on his mind, Director Zoltan approached the Prime Minister. Seeing his purple scarf, Say recalled it was the color of the Royal Sorcery Department. Thanks to his help with the summoning spell, Zoltan boasted that it wouldn't have been possible without them. They were even being asked to participate in the purification expedition, and so he believed the kingdom was in more need of his department for their knowledge and ideas, as opposed to the Third Royal Order, who solely relied on brute force. Camille would then introduce Say to him. Suddenly, Zoltan ran off and dragged Isekai'd to come greet the Prime Minister. He and Say would lock eyes immediately, and upon hearing that Say was with the accounting department, he asked for money, but Say would refuse. Obviously, Isekai'd had no idea what kind of person he was. Isekai'd then properly introduced himself. He was the assistant director at the Royal Sorcery Department. After that, he explained that their department needed a lot of funding. In other words, he wanted Say to cough up cash for them, but Isekai'd immediately got hit by Zoltan. Looking at the two of them, Say could tell that Zoltan was focused on politics as a director, while Isekai'd was focused on practical matters. He offered to consider Isekai'd's request, but only in exchange for granting his own. Suddenly, Aresh grabbed him, shooting a fierce glare. Oh, what's this? Then, Yua would come running to the commander to get him. Aresh was supposed to follow both her and the king to make their entrance. However, he didn't feel a need for his presence, since this event was about the king and the royal family. In his place, Camille decided to go with the Holy Maiden. Aresh then questioned Say about his face and clothes. Say explained that he got the clothes from a friend in his department, and the same person brought some maids who did his makeup. But he assured the commander that the makeup was low in magicules. Still, it was making Aresh uneasy. Say would try to get away, but Commander Indalark stuck to him like butter. Soon after, the king made his entrance, expressed concern over the miasma in the demon forest, and extolled the sacred ritual that summoned the Holy Maiden. Then, Yua would make her entrance, being escorted by the firstborn prince. Though she sounded a bit hesitant, she said she wished to do her best for everyone in the kingdom. Announcing the participants of the expedition was Urius, and he would be leading the charge. Seeing that there were far more operatives than expected, Say was distracted, thinking about how to revise the budget. Unknown to him, his name had been called as part of the participants. When Camille told him, he was confused. Aresh thought this was inconceivable, so he decided to speak to the king on Say's behalf. Urius would walk up to Say, saying, "Even the frail Yua is going. Yet, a grown man like you wants to run away?" Aresh explained that Say had no resistance to magicules. Regardless, the firstborn prince demanded that Say go on the expedition. Camille would also speak up, letting Urius know that if Say went, it was tantamount to suicide. But the prince refused to listen. He probably hated the fact that Say sped up the expedition. Say's participation wasn't part of the plan. That was why he wanted to connect with Isekai'd and ask a favor, although he believed it would be most efficient to see the situation for himself. So, he surprisingly agreed to go. Stunned and speechless, Aresh stared at him, almost like he wanted to ask if Say had gone mad. The expedition was set to depart in 3 days. The journey there and back would take 6. In the precious time he had before leaving, Say decided to visit Norbert's home. This way, he could thank everyone for the clothes and makeup they provided. Of course, he had another purpose. He wanted to speak with Norbert's adoptive father. Luckily, Norbert was happy to make the arrangements. Since the banquet, Say had been busy delegating his work to the right people, all because of Aresh, who always dragged him out for lunch and picked him up when the workday ended. Say's only saving grace was the fact that he brought work home and secretly drank nutritional tonics, because he recovered each time Aresh cast the barrier spell on him. Having the next day off, he'd have time to finish the work he brought home. Getting back, Say was stopped by Aresh, who demanded to know where he had gone. However, Aresh already knew he went out with a colleague, so Say explained that he had gone to thank Norbert's family. As for the work on his desk, the commander scolded him. Slamming the table, one of the tonic bottles revealed itself, causing Aresh's fury to grow more. After being treated, Say tried to get back to work, but Aresh refused. He advised Say to put his health first and be more conscious of his own weakness. Say was well aware. After all, If it weren't for Aresh, he'd die from simply breathing. Even for this world, their present relationship was strange. Aresh then mentioned he had already prepared expense summaries for the second and third orders. He would give it to Sei tomorrow when they depart. Aresh wasn't about to let Sei work right now for any reason. Sei asked if he had siblings, and Aresh mentioned having 2 older brothers and a younger sister. So, the unruly, handsome commander was the youngest child. That explained a lot for Sei. Although Aresh had a room in the knight's barracks, his family home was closer to the palace. That made it easier for him to live there. As for Sei, he was an only sibling. Thinking about it now, he felt it'd be better if he had a sibling. He was so busy with work, he rarely went home for Oban or New Year's. With their only son missing, Sei wondered what was going through his parents' mind. How were they spending their days? He was the only one they had. If he couldn't return, how would he take care of them in their old age? If it came to that, he hoped they'd get all the assets he left behind without a fuss. Seeing Sei's grim expression, Aresh held him tightly, singing his melody of healing. No matter how many times Sei heard it, it always sounded like a lullaby. The next morning, while looking for the carriage he'd ride, Aresh pulled Sei aside, telling him he'd be riding on horseback. The commander wanted to monitor him due to his low resistance to magicules. Sei wondered what was the point of casting that barrier on him so thoroughly last night then. He wanted to chat with the royal sorcerers while they set out. He had never ridden on horseback before, and he tried to let Aresh know it might not be a good idea due to his frail constitution. But the commander looked angry, all because Sei referred to him by his title. As everyone set out, Aresh and Sei would both be riding the same horse. Using the time, Sei started going through the document Aresh had put together. This was his chance to learn about the accounting methods of the royal order. Anything to make his work easier was always a good thing. Arriving at a lord's estate, Sei finally had some time to himself. Before he could go meet Isekai'd, Yua would come to him, disrupting his plans. Shortly after, he met with Isekai'd to discuss plans for raising funding for the Royal Sorcery Department. Isekai'd was happy to invite him in. He was the type who honestly stayed true to his desires, and the kind of person whose hobbies became their line of work. For Sei, Isekai'd would be easy to work with on a professional level, unlike one particular saintly brat. During his meeting with Yua, she begged him to switch places with her tomorrow. He explained to her that the Holy Maiden was the only one who could purify the miasma. On the other hand, he was the only person in the world most susceptible to miasma. Just breathing the outside air would weaken him. He was certain he would die. Yet, Yua was here, increasing the workload of those tasked to protect her, and asking him to risk his life. His words struck her like a dagger to the heart, causing tears to well up. Sei advised her to start considering things more seriously. This wasn't a world where she could blindly do as she was told and expect to live peacefully after. She didn't know this, but he planned to ruin her brilliant future as a holy maiden. Later on, Aresh heard about what he told Yua, so he made sure it wouldn't reach the king's ears. During the dinner party, Yua was visibly down thanks to Sei, but the fact she still came meant she must have given his words some thought. If the Holy Maiden had skipped the Lord's dinner party while staying at his estate, it would have been a great insult to him. As expected, Urius covered for her, saying she was tired for her journey, as he thanked the Lord for his hospitality. At first, Sei thought Urius was blinded by infatuation with her, but it seemed he needed to reevaluate his opinion of the prince. Holding Sei tighter, Aresh remarked, thinking Sei had no interest in the Holy Maiden. He could see he was mistaken. Sei definitely had interest in her. This made Aresh's heart clench. Afterwards, Sei figured it was about time for the commander to return to his quarters. But Aresh wasn't going to leave until he stopped working. He put his head on Sei's shoulder and asked him where he went before dinner. Sei figured he already knew about him visiting Isekai'd. The commander complained about the way Sei always ignored him or postponed things with him while he was working. Oh man. He wants Sei's attention. I get it. Knowing what he said was true, Sei still tried to deny it. Upset with him, Aresh snatched his documents away and held him tight as they lay down. On the third day of the expedition, they finally approached the demon forest. As the carriage tripped, Yua began to panic. She had heard some animal noises, but her guard assured her that the knights were here to protect her. They wouldn't be outdone by any kind of ferocious beast. She offered to help with her healing magic, but it was best for her to remain at ease. The purification was all she needed to think about. Despite hearing about the miasma, everything had been so tranquil for her. Everyone protected her, so Yua lived peacefully. But she'd be very much worried for Sei, especially after recalling what he had told her. Meanwhile, Aresh and his comrades took out the beasts that were attacking. While Sei was taking notes, he'd be protected by Aresh. Arriving at the entrance of the demon forest, they would all proceed on foot from here. Civil officials were to wait, except for Sei. Urius wanted to drag him into danger no matter what. Sei thought about staying behind, considering Ist was here as well. But Ist couldn't even remember the favor he asked for. With no other choice, Sei agreed to go. Oh man, what's going to happen next week? Subscribe to keep up with the future parts, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, Comfy T. I'll see you all in the next one.